I know I went through this before with you, but we made up these round sanders, which you can use to sand the curves on the hull, and they do a really fantastic job on the outside. When it comes to the inside, it's much more problematic. And I really scratched my brain to try and come up with a technique of sanding the inside so that I can get some of those fantastic finishes that I see in the more professional modelers in our craft. And if you look at the starboard side, you'll see it's not very evenly sanded, and that's really because of trying to use that PVC pipe. This is the port side looking forward, same sort of issue. And we turn to the back and you look at the port side and then to the starboard side. You know my love affair with power tools. So I went and took my old Proxxon sander, which I actually have used quite a bit on the outside. This is the model OZI, I think -E. This is a 115 volt tool. And I had an old plate, sanding plate, that had bent from me pressing down. So I put it on a vise and bent it a bit, and then I took the rubber that holds the sanding pads and ground it down to try and give it a shape. And then I put the pad on it and really thought, I wonder if this would work. And much to my surprise, and certainly that I'm very pleased, it actually works very good. So I made up a video, which some of you may have seen, trying to entice Proxxon to in fact develop 2 additional pieces, accessories really, for this tool. One that will do convex and one that will do concave sanding jobs. And I haven't heard from them yet, but I hope that before I finish getting all the sanding down, that I get some samples from them to try. Certainly it improves the quality of the work, because I've used this a little bit, and although it's not the best, it really has improved the quality of the finish on the inside. And perhaps more important than anything else, there's a lot less pressure on the model itself. So I'm not breaking the spacers that I put, and the whole thing is holding together. So let's keep our fingers crossed that Proxxon get an interest in this suggestion and send me some accessories that we can all benefit from. Both the instruction in the book and some of the emails that I've gotten from Greg talk about, particularly with the first set of frames on the front and the back, that you really need to sand down the inside before you add too many frames, because it becomes impossible to work in this space. And so this is probably the last time I'm going to be able to get any sort of equipment in here easy. Also, as these middle square frames become installed, there's very little sanding that you have to do, because the angles become less and less, and they're almost, eventually when they're in the center, they're identical. So now is the time ready to finish off the sanding. And in one of Greg's emails, he says to me, you can feel the smoothness by just simply putting a hand over the hull, or with the sandpaper. You'll feel the ridges, and eventually the ridges all disappear, and you know you actually have one clean line all the way through. Before you really start any sanding, you should use your chisels and take the bulk of the work off. These are the sills on the gun ports, and because I used pieces that were so much bigger, there really is a fair amount of work that you can take off using the chisel. Well, I'm really hoping that Proxxon responds to me, because my little jig, I have to tell you, has really made this so easy, and the quality of the finish on the inside sanding is just so much better. Good news, this morning I got up and I had a response from Proxxon, and they say they've passed my suggestion into R&D and they'll get back to me, and to be patient. So in the meantime, I think I told you I was struggling a little bit the ability of the pad, the old pad, to hold the Velcro sanding pads on. I guess it had just worn out. So down to the hardware I went and I got some Velcro strips, and we've put a new Velcro strip in. It almost covers the entire pad, and well, it's really holds the paper pretty good. So it looks like I'm going to be able to finish sanding the internals before Proxxon comes back, and that'll be fine. You may have noticed in the time-elapse that I keep going to this little piece of plank, and it's very useful. I can put the plank on the model and you get to see how it lies on the frames, and if there are high spots or low spots, it brings it out pretty good. From what it looks like, we probably only have one frame to change in the back, and the truth is I'm not 100% sure I'm going to change it yet. So we've done the port side, and that's pretty good. Now we're going to do the starboard side. And you can see the port side, how fantastic that looks compared to what we had before. That's the bow. We haven't completed the starboard side. You can still see it's uneasy. Then go across on the port side. And again, look how fantastic the inside of that is compared to what you had looked at before. Really all clean, all level, no bumps. So let's all hope that Proxxon comes and gives us another tool in our arsenal to make work a little easier. We go across, and we've been working on the starboard side, but you still see there's some work to be done. So compare that side to this side over here. And we've just marked that little high spot there on the port side. It has to come down about a 64th of an inch. Well, eventually it gave out. The contact cement which I used let go, so I'll clean it up and sand it again. I'm still very optimistic that I've maybe lit a little spark at Proxxon, and that I might get some interesting pieces to replace this one. Something that will look like this, but of course will have different curve faces, concave, convex, and maybe some tube-like units with Velcro on it that allow us to do the same thing. So one must always be optimistic and keep pushing the boundary, and who knows what all sorts of interesting tools we'll get if we just tingle the R&D department in the various tool shops.